In this video, we continue with the book titled The Mind's Attainment, written by Uriel Buchanan. This is a study of laws and methods for obtaining individual happiness, success, and power through the silent force of thought. I am Daisy, your hostess, and if you're new to my channel, welcome. And to our subscribing community, welcome back. So far, I have really enjoyed this book. I hope that you have too. In the previous chapter, the author shared a fundamental wisdom that my grandmother used to share with me that was passed on to my mother. Maybe you have heard it in a different way. My mom and my grandma would say, "Tell me who you hang out with, and I will tell you who you are." And later on in life, when I was in the business sector, I recall someone saying that we are the average of the 5 people that we spend most of the time with. And in a sense, you begin to kind of take a look at these associations you have, similar in wealth, similar in philosophies, similar in the things that you like to do. Or what happens eventually, you start to think like they think and behave like they behave, you start going out more if these are people that like to go out more, or if these are investors, you start investing more. So if you're not happy where you're at, take a look at those 5 people around you, and maybe you've hit a plateau. The beautiful thing about that is that you can change that by changing your circle. And perhaps another thing you can do is just spend some time alone, and in that way you can find yourself again. Well, let's get on to the next chapter. It's chapter 7, titled The Law of Suggestion. Every particle of animate matter is endowed with consciousness, or a perception of self-being. But supreme in mental development is man. Yet he does not know why he thinks, how he thinks, or what thinking is. The human mind and its complicated processes are among the deepest mysteries of life. The more the brain develops, the more capacity we have for thinking. The act of thinking develops the brain, and events develop thinking. All thought is the result of stimulation. The convolutions of a well-developed brain are like a disturbed sea crested with huge billows. The ceaseless flow of blood through the brain supplies the material which builds it. The blood pours over the brain an aciduous fluid which deposits phosphorus to be absorbed. Phosphorus is a mysterious element absorbed from food. It is the most remarkable substance known. The gleaming eyes of an excited person or animal in the darkness are distinctly visible. A magnetic person may excite enough light in his own brain to see in the dark. There are many proofs of brain light. Phosphorus is the element which endows the nerves with power to move the muscles. It furnishes the brain with its gray matter and gives to the mind its vigor. The course of thought lies in the gray matter that occupies the brain and body. The part of the brain which thinks, as it receives an excitant from the blood, contracts and expands with great rapidity. A thought excites the blood, and the blood in turn excites the brain. The mind is a fathomless sea of untouched thought. Wonderful possibilities are latent within the mind, awaiting some stimulus to arouse them. Only a word, an event, or a thought from another mind may awaken some dormant faculty or power undreamed of. The habit of intense thinking may be cultivated to a remarkable degree by individual effort. In proportion to the growth of this power, success in mental achievement will be greater. One who understands the power of concentrated and well-directed thought may exert an influence that is far-reaching and irresistible. There are times when the mind is under the influence of thought waves projected from other minds. The mind is sensitive to every influence of environment. A favorable combination of surroundings, a forceful suggestion received from another, the reading of a helpful thought, or listening to delightful music will start a train of thought which gives inspiration, force, and courage. At such times, we feel the possibilities within and have an intense yearning to unfold them, to give expression to the harmony we feel, to make use of the thoughts which stir the depths of our being. But when the stimulus is withdrawn, when discordant thought currents are again awakened, the inspiration passes from us, and we awaken as from a beautiful dream. to the commonplace facts of the material. There are many times when the higher faculties influence and inspire us, but our efforts ebb and flow like the tides of the sea, and the billows of thought are moved by the storm and passion of a resistless, uncontrollable force. There is one great law which makes it possible to encourage the higher facilities to gradually unfold the divine nature and to overcome the aimless, drifting tendencies of the mind. A certain mood may be recalled in thought by an effort of the will. Hold your thought concentrated in the memory of some beautiful experience. Endeavor to feel that you are under the same influences again. This attitude, held to repeatedly, will give greater ability to control your thoughts and to awaken feelings which will inspire and strengthen the mind. If while sleeping you have had a pleasant dream, when you awake, endeavor to recall the details of the dream. By holding your mind in line of correspondence with the original vision, you will pass into the same mental state again and will go to sleep. Create in your mind a vivid memory of some great emotion or impulse you have felt in the past. This attitude of mind will intensify the corresponding faculties of the brain, and by repetition, you will be able to hold your thought permanently in any state desired. The first time you attempt to perform a difficult mechanical act, great effort is required to succeed. The second time the act is performed with greater ease, and by repetition, the muscles are trained to respond without any conscious effort. The same law applies to all mental attainment. By the intense desire and persistent effort to hold the mind receptive to a higher current of influence, the faculties become more and more responsive. Rigid discipline will accomplish wonderful results in this direction. We must have the ambition which will arouse the will and fire the heart with a determined resolve which will give no rest until we have reached the goal of every desire. All culture and growth are the result of faithful and continued effort. Hold your mind by the will in the right attitude to receive a constant stimulus from the higher faculties or subliminal self. Lift yourself above all negative, discordant influences, all feeling of weakness and fear. Hold steadfastly to the high current of thought which will connect you with all the constructive forces of human life. Never acknowledge in thought that you cannot succeed, that the odds are against you. See nothing before you but the goal of your ambition. Go out with a sustained and living force from the mind's highest center and transmute all the forces at your command into the subtle, irresistible waves which will carry you forward to the highest attainment. To know that the mind is the builder, that the mind is a concretion of the most potent forces of life, that thought is a dynamic power more potent than any possible opposing influence, will give you encouragement and strength to create nobler thoughts and to make use of your talents for the accomplishment of the greatest good. A chart should be hung in the room of every person who is working to develop the higher attributes of his nature, and on this chart should be printed in attractive letters the words and sentences which will suggest thoughts that will be specially helpful. To have the chart in a prominent place where your eyes will rest on it when you are meditating, and also during odd moments when your mind wanders from your book or writing or any work you are doing, the suggestions we'll receive at such times will take hold of your thoughts and exert a beneficial influence in your daily life. To place before your mind during the last hour of the evening and the early moments of the morning whatever thought you desire to absorb in your nature will aid you to develop corresponding attributes of character. The five-pointed star is a good emblem of the mind. It should be drawn on a cardboard about 12 inches square, and at the 5 points should be written the following words, one of the words being placed opposite each point: virtue, wisdom, power, riches, glory. Hang the cardboard in a prominent place, and when looking at the star, think of the different words and their meaning. Virtue is the first principle. Without virtue, it is impossible to achieve anything great or glorious. It is the underlying principle which governs the attainment of every exalted position. See that the thoughts are kept pure and the heart clean. Let the emotions outgrow passion and shun every temptation. The second principle is wisdom. Let its light always direct you. Say to yourself mentally, I can do nothing that is not good and true. I am guided by infinite wisdom. I turn from all error. I will rise above every appearance of evil. I will transmute the memory of past experiences into the pure gold of knowledge and wisdom, and will walk in the way of truth and goodness. The third principle is power. You should affirm mentally, I have planted my feet on the rock of virtue and wisdom. On this rock I will stand. No matter how fierce the storms, no matter how great the conflict, I am fearless, confident, and free. I will remain steadfast. I will unfold into the divine likeness. I am conscious of unlimited power. My faith and loyalty to truth shall not be shaken. I have dominion over all things. I have realized the perfect ideal. The fourth principle is riches. Affirm mentally, in my individual supremacy as the expression of infinite power, I command all the resources that are needful. The treasures of the earth are my rightful possessions. Every demand I make shall compel response. Every effort shall receive its reward. I rise to higher power, to wider planes and greater riches. The fifth principle is glory. Affirm, I rejoice because my words and my works follow me. I have caused blessings to spring up in the lives of many. Because of my life, art is more beautiful and nature fairer. Because of my thoughts, humanity lives nearer the ideal. My mind and body are in tune with divine peace. End of chapter 7. Oh wow, wasn't that beautiful? I feel like I'm still floating in some cloud. Stay right here with me as we're going to now flip the page to the next chapter. If you could be so kind, please do leave me a comment. Let me know that you are here. Hit that like button, share this channel with your friends, and subscribe. All right, chapter 8, the sovereign will. To live in sympathy with nature's moods and in harmony with her changeless laws will lead to the unfoldment of all that is great and good. The beautiful earth and radiant heavens will inspire the mind with visions of hidden truths. An unbroken affinity with nature will keep aglow the fire of enthusiasm in the human heart and give renewed courage for lofty endeavor. There is a force in nature which awakens in man a feeling of kinship with the infinite. Unless the finer sensibilities are dead, man yearns for occasional solitude and for the renewal of strength which comes from the hidden life of nature. In the midst of native forest or mountains, surrounded by all that is wild and natural, man feels an exhilaration and freedom which gives renewed life. The trees and the waving grass, the rocks and rills, the birds and wild flowers, the earth and sky, and all visible things unite in a living picture that is eloquent with love. And giving to nature our love in return, we may draw nearer in consciousness to the source of being and hold communion with the infinite mind. Man knows that the myriad forms of nature are expressions of the infinite mind, and that he may attract from them a part and quality of the infinite. The earth and all it contains, the melody of the winds and waters, the grandeur of the woods and plains, and the beauty of all living things speak with a pleading eloquence which bids man arise in the dignity of the power that nature has given him, and to manifest the growing harmonies that spring up from within. To grow in wisdom, to have a lighter heart and a greater freedom, to commence each day with the feeling of a new pleasure, a higher hope, and more determined endeavor, we must draw nearer to the infinite and absorb the element of life and power from the trees and plants and all the myriad expressions of nature. The closer we feel our relationship with nature, the more we can attract of the qualities of the Supreme Mind pervading in all things. And the more refined we become, the greater will be our power to appreciate the indescribable beauty and harmony of the rugged mountains, the forest, and the valleys. Throughout the domain of nature, we see the evidence of progress. Every manifestation is growing and increasing in refinement and beauty. In the barren rock are elements which will ultimately enter the tree and flower. Back of all visible things is the ceaseless workings of an immeasurable force which moves all things forward. This force causes the rock to crumble that the elements it contains may live in higher forms. It causes the dead leaves to fall and new ones, full of freshness and beauty, to come forth with each return of spring. It causes the tree to send its roots deep into the soil and to reach out its branches into the air and sunlight, that it may draw nourishment from the earth and the heavens. The vast treasures of coal and oil which man takes from the depths of the earth are the accumulated elements of energy drawn from the sun ages ago by the trees and the luxuriant foliage of nature. The stately trees which send up their branches and leaves to sway in the wind are literal conductors of new life and energy coming to the earth in atomic rays from the sun. The leaves are the lungs of the trees which breathe the new life and absorb the element that is ever working in nature to build the more perfect and beautiful. Let us learn from nature the lesson of progress. Let us cease to look back, to live over in memory the vanished days. We do not want the narrow life, the false beliefs, and the discordant environments of our dead selves. There is a spirit of progressiveness within us which cares relatively little for the past. We welcome new experiences. We invite new joys, knowing that what awaits us will surpass anything we have realized before. Incessant change is the inevitable law of life. There is nothing permanent in the boundless universe. To live at one place, to meet the same people day after day, to follow one pursuit in the same locality, and to be found by an unvarying set of habits at the home and the office or workshop, to repeat the same thoughts, to be haunted continually by the same dismal and cheerless moods, will rob the strongest man of courage and keep his body and mind in abject bondage. To banish sickness and the fear of loss and failure, to dispel the weariness and monotony of existence, turn your thoughts on the bright and beautiful in nature. Behold the falling snowflakes, the moving clouds, the driving rain, and the ocean surge. Feast on the beauty of woodland scenes and the sublimity of the mountains. Respond to the silent harmonies of the blue skies, the bright sunshine and fields of waving green. By cultivating a love of nature, you will keep in the thought current that will exert a powerful influence for good. You will follow the promptings of the higher self. You will advance to higher realms of power and usefulness. You will work in the right direction, and you will have knowledge and faith in your capacity to draw things needed and to be successful in all you undertake. Recognizing your vital relationship with the infinite mind and all nature, you will know there is nothing to fear. Then you will step out into the sunshine of your true life. Strengthened and renewed mentally and physically, you will no longer cling to the outgrown past, but will strike out boldly into new and untried realms of activity, knowing that you will never be left guideless in the dark or unsupported by the infinite power. You will keep in the current and let it bear you on to the realization of health, happiness, and freedom. You will grow tired of laboring for that which gives so little return, of the business cares pressing upon you, of the misunderstanding and opposition, of your happiness all crossed with strife and pain. You will follow the monitions of the higher self, and you will find the way out of bewilderment into serene regions where all the problems that have vexed you will disappear. Then you will threaten to pass by all that has held you and to ignore what once seemed essential to happiness. You will gain the strength of unwavering perseverance and will walk in the light of high ideals, reaching up after all that is true and good. The universal will, acting through man as directed by thought and desire, enables him to control the forces of nature and to use the ether of space as a medium for conveying his message and command to the most distant parts of the world. By the power of his will, man should dispel fear and uncertainty and assume the dignity of his rightful place. The degree of man's success is determined by the nature and intensity of desire and the strength of his will. The will concentrates into a tiny cell the immensities of the universe. Fundamentally, it is identical with universal life, acting in us either consciously or unconsciously, natural or unnatural, as determined by choice and desire. Concentration of willpower and harmonic mental action, impelled by persistent desire, will remove all barriers and make a straight pathway to the highest goal. The will should be disciplined to work incessantly for the right and good. You should refuse to recognize all that is useless, selfish, or sordid. You should direct your forces unerringly to study and self-development. You should be filled with a determination to do that which you recognize as necessary to the highest attainment. The will should be thoroughly understood and subjected to the severest scrutiny. The earnest desire to live in harmony with the higher laws will gradually emancipate the mind and give invincible courage. How often we meet with difficulties which oppress the heart and cause the will to waver, when we might arise in the dignity of selfhood and speak the word which would set free the latent energies of the mind and will and give power to conquer all things which bar the way to liberty and progress. We are swayed by the hypnotic suggestions which other minds project, and we yield to the binding influence of race beliefs which we have inherited from the generations of the past, so that the highest part of our nature sleeps, not dreamlessly, but as one fettered by the chain of circumstances which he cannot break. Have an undoubting assurance that deep in yourself abides the unlimited power which will give mastery over every possible condition of material environment. Have no apprehension of evil or impending misfortune, for what appears evil, which you may encounter on life's highway, will never be greater than the strength which you possess for protection. Though you may pass through troublous times, let fear be unknown to your heart. If the mind be inspired by the principles of goodness and truth, all that shall happen to you will be fraught with blessings, and looking through the mists of the uncertain future, you will see where the waves of seeming adversity break on the final shores with a murmur that awakens the echo. All is well. Resolve to persevere in the cultivation of all that is true and good. Be active and energetic and direct your forces in a straight line toward the attainment of your object or wish, never forgetting the privilege of others and being honest and sincere in your dealings with man. Be clean of body, be pure in heart, control passion, banish evil thoughts, and guard well the tongue. Cultivate the spirit of love and let it guide you in every act. Cultivate a love for flowers and music and for all that is beautiful in nature and art. Love others as you would have them love you, and fear not to let them feel and see the warmth and sunlight you hold for them. Remember that thousands are crushed and discouraged because of the world's indifference and coldness, needing but a word, spoken by a friend in tones of sympathy, to fire them with renewed strength to push forward and win. Keep the body and mind in touch with the spirit of harmony, the blue of the sky, The colors of the rainbow and the blending of shades where the air and sunshine kiss waving grass and graceful foliage are the visible expressions of the law of harmony as manifested through nature. Likewise, the glow of the cheek, the brightness of the eye, the quick step and graceful bearing reveal the divine self expressing its harmonies through the most wonderful instrument of a supreme creation. With the consciousness of power, the love for high attainment, and the unwavering resolve, there must also be faith in the harmony and goodness of the laws and forces you invoke to your aid. If you remain true to the highest monitions and are not led astray by the counter-influences which constantly appear, if your love for the attainment of the highest and best is greater than your attraction toward all that is unworthy, you will bring to your aid the host of invisible powers which work on the human plane for the upliftment of man. In countless ways, you will have unmistakable evidence of help from unseen sources, which will strengthen your faith in the divine leadings and give courage to reach up and attain. Let your watchword be onward and turn not back. But with your eyes fixed on the final goal, with uplifted, eager hands, continue to tread the path which leads towards the heights. And know that the time will come when the mysterious force within you, which now causes the heart to beat with infinite longings, will not be silenced until you have received response to every yearning and realized the fulfillment of every hope. End of chapter 8. Let's head over to the next video where I will be there with the power of silence. And on your way out, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this with your friends, and leave me a comment. What was your favorite part of these chapters?